Hello neighbor, this is Novels and Beats podcast. How are you doing? We have been doing Restore Me by Seegar on the podcast, and where we left off in the last episode, we had it that Sloane and Dom were supposed to go out with their friend Mal, and not just Mal, former love interest of Mal, Christopher, is supposed to attend that dinner. And Sloane is madly protective of her friend Mal. Like, Christopher hurt her friend before, and she doesn't want this guy around her friend. But then, the way Dom said something that, yes, he's had someone hurt him before, but he knows that if that person had returned like Christopher did to apologize, that he would actually have felt much better about the situation. So that actually kind of changes her mind. Like, okay, let's do this dinner. But at the same time, it makes her so jealous. Like, what kind of woman would have done that thing to Dom? I mean, she has no idea that she is the woman, okay? So they're at the restaurant, and while they're there, Chris shows up. And Mal did not expect him to show up. They had a thing in freshman year before Chris moved across the country to study medicine. That's this Christopher person. He looks serious now compared to he used to look so playful before. Chris calls Mal princess, but with tears in her eyes, she rebukes him and says, "Don't call me that." And she storms off. Sloane intends to go after Mal to comfort her friend, that is, but Chris begs her not to, that he will do so instead. Now, memories of how she should have gone after Eric that day makes her agree. I mean, if only I had gone after Eric the day of that accident, he would still be alive. I would not have lost my husband. Now, Chris goes after Mal, and our couple are alone. That's Sloane and Dom. Now, they order their food to be packed so that they can just leave as per. What's the point staying here? Now, Sloane drives home alone, while Dom goes to get fresh change of clothes from his house. Sloane gets to her house, and her friend Mal, Chris never caught up to Mal, or maybe he did. But the point is, Mal is at Sloane's house, which means Dom cannot come there. Now, Sloane has to test Dom and tell him not to come back because she has to take care of Mal. And she's even feeling guilty about the whole thing. Guilt over leaving Mal to deal with a man who broke her heart all on her own. Guilt over being kind of upset that she's here because, oh my gosh, Mal being here means she has to sacrifice the night with Dom. And their time is already like counting down. And she's also feeling guilt over wanting Dom so much. Guilt over falling in. She doesn't let herself complete that thought. Now, Sloane and Mal, normally they used to share a bed in the past whenever Mal is staying over. But in this case, Mal is like, no. I mean, if you've been doing Ash, the way Mal is thinking she's been doing Ash, that guy that Sloane went on a blind date with. But we know nothing progressed beyond that blind date. But Mal assumes they've been doing each other and says that I don't want to share your bed if it's been in your bed lately. Okay? Even though the sheets are changed, like, I'd rather stay in the guest room today. Anyhow, they end up having the leftover food from the restaurants. They watch TV. Mal now admits that Chris just never keeps his word. That's why she can't just open herself up to give him another chance. Sloane is going to find out later that college wasn't the last of Mal and Chris. Because in Sloane's own timetable, Mal and Chris, last time they saw each other was college. But she's going to find out later that, no, after Eric passed away, Chris came around and was Mal's big time support system. You know that time that Eric passed away, being his widow, Sloane did not really send anybody as far as she was so consumed in her own grieving. So she did not know how the others coped. She's going to learn that the person who was there for Mal through the whole grieving of Eric is actually Chris. Okay? But after that morning phase, Chris disappeared again. And now he's reappearing again. What does that say about you, dude? What does it say about you? So being in her bed alone after spending weeks sleeping next to Dom is hard for Sloane. And it makes her have insomnia, like sudden insomnia. She can't fall asleep. She now calls Dom, and the call helps her relax before the call turns into a naughty call. And she falls asleep to the sound of him breathing on the other line of the phone. Also, Dom's a neat guy. I mean, he even changed his sheets last night, and his things are not all over or visible at all. You can't tell a dude has been staying over at Sloane's, okay? Now, the next day, Sloane is working from home. She gets a call from Lauren, that's her mother, to come rescue Ash from auction. Ash, that same guy she went on blind dates with, her mom is hoping she gets together with. Now, Sloane and Dad have to remind Lauren that she's just friends with Ash, And that's a decision that Ash and Sloane came together. Now, Sloane sends Dom a picture showing off her cleavage. She can't remember the last time she actually did this, like send sexy messages. I mean, the last time she did that was with her husband, and that's been like more than 4 years. And Dom doesn't reply when she sends like this picture of her looking cute and showing slight cleavage. And that makes her feel so vulnerable, like, oh my gosh, did I overdo it? Should I not have done that? And she's like overthinking the whole thing. But 20 minutes later, there's a knock on her back door, and it's only Dom that uses that door. She unlocks it, and his hungry gaze is all over her. According to him, he was working, but once he got her message, he abandoned his PA and abandoned the work, drove like a maniac to get to her. She notices he's wearing a suit today, whereas he's always normally casual, like maybe jeans and shirts or something, or tee, you get. But right now, today, he's wearing a suit, and it looks really freaking good on him. And she's wondering, why is he wearing a suit today? But anyhow, being with him this day feels different. It feels right no matter what anyone in their life may say. She's ready. She's no longer guilt-ridden, and she's just so glad he waited. So first of all, this book is a very raunchy book, honestly. So they engage in a naughty game. Though this one is where he's pleasuring her on the condition. She talks about how her day went. It's hard to do. If she stops talking, he stops doing. So he points out that she said she missed him, and in her text asked him to come home. Dom pushes Sloane to the edge of her having to acknowledge I'm yours, and for their joining, she must pick a safe word before it can happen. It's the only way for him to be convinced she's okay. So she picks Noir, black in French. That's what Noir means. It's the color of his eyes when he stares at her. It's perfect, a perfect safe word. The next chapter starts with us going back in time to when Eric and Sloane were married. I mean, Eric was still alive, right? And they're excited because they discovered they're going to have a baby. Sloane is expected. Now, in the present day, Sloane's team member brings Dom. That is, let's say the following morning, the following day at work. Sloane's team member brings Dom's crew, work materials. And he's now wondering, where is Sloane? Why didn't Sloane show today? Sloane's worker, employee tells Dom that Sloane is not feeling well, that she's sick. And Dom is surprised because she was well that morning. He left her that morning. It's September 23. I mean, he has to pull up the calendar and check. And he's like, it's not close to anything that has to do with Eric. Not his birthday, not his death anniversary, because he knows he feels some kind of way too around anything concerning Eric. So, but it's not. So what does it matter? He now drives home, like to Sloane's house. He's careful to park in the garage. He uses his key to open the back door and get in. He sees her coiled up and she's weeping. He starts consoling her, but she doesn't think she deserves it. She's now telling him the happiness I've gotten from being with you for the last few weeks, the joy I've found in being cared for and desired, the reprieve that you've given me from the demons lurking in the shadows of my mind, reminding me that I'm the cause of all the pain our loved ones have experienced in the wake of Eric's death, because she's the one that sent him to his death. That's what she's thinking. She's thinking, I don't deserve all of this you are giving me because I pushed Eric to his death. Now, Sloane now starts sharing how she was worried about the kind of mother she would be, because when they were expecting, she was now thinking, am I going to be like my mom? This narcissistic woman. I don't want to be that kind of woman. How do I ensure that I'm going to be a better mom that my mom was? So all those things, and Eric was reassuring. They wanted to wait until after the first trimester to inform family and friends. First trimester of pregnancy is normally very anyhow. It's so easy to lose a child that period. So normally people wait until they're in the clear before informing family members. But unfortunately, she miscarried during that period and she was grieving. She did not let Eric be there for her through the grief. And she didn't even want to try again for another baby. So the morning Eric died, he was telling her how Mama wanted grandbabies, and they got into an argument over it. She now revealed to him that she's actually on bed control without his knowledge. So to this thing, Eric was like, why didn't you tell me you're on bed control? I never thought you're that selfish. And I feel like if you can't talk to me about things like this, then maybe we don't have any business being married. So after saying those words, he's hot, he's angry, he slams the door and leaves. And she was happy with him gone, relieved that she didn't have to keep seeing the hurt in his eyes. But she had no idea. She had no idea it'd be the last time she's going to see him alive. That grief is so heavy that he just argued with someone and they're hurt and they worked out and that's the end. God, it is painful. Now she expects Dom to blow a gasket and walk out of her life. Instead, it clicks to him what today is. He now says, today is the day you lost your baby. He blinks and a single tear skates down his cheek. Dom now tells Sloane honestly, see, Eric might have been upset about the bed control thing, but I think we both know he was more hurt that you didn't talk to him about it than anything. He loved you, Sloane. And if things didn't happen the way they did, he would have come home with flowers and an apology. He would have held you in his arms and made you tell him everything you are keeping bottled up inside. And he would have listened to all of your fears and told you, like I'm telling you now, there was nothing wrong with being afraid. Those kind of men just rare. A mini confession. I have a partner and he's a lot like this, basically. Always getting me to talk, open up. And I know many times I want to scream like, yo, or rather I would just want to be on my own and be like, I'm handling things. And he's like, look, if you don't open up to me, if you don't communicate to me, then why are we in this? Why are we doing this? Okay? It's great to have a partner like that who is consistently for you, who is consistently about, talk to me, let's do this together, instead of everybody doing their own thing. Now, Sloane refuses to take comfort in what Dom is saying. She just keeps telling herself that she doesn't deserve to be happy. She gets feral, screaming at him how it's her fault Eric's dead, that there is nothing remotely attractive or sexy about this moment. And what she has with Dom is meant to be a sexual attractive thing, right? But Dom is not looking like that is not where he'd rather be. He's not looking like this is so friggin' uncomfortable. Watching her have a meltdown is not the thing he's signed up for. No, he's here, dealing with her shattered heart. And when she asks him to leave, since this is not part of the arrangement, don't be here watching me like this, he pulls her back into his embrace. He starts talking to her how grief and happiness exist side by side. He kisses her temple. She's soaking up his comfort. And on this very moment, it dawns on her that she's in love with her husband's best friend. The last thing she expected would happen to her. Uh-oh. Later, Sloane wakes up from a deep sleep in the evening. Traces of a dream are lingering, reminding her of a day long ago in college she can't seem to remember. She finds Dom in the home office. He's on a call, and he looks delighted and surprised to see her. He ends the call, and apparently he was on the phone with billionaire Sebastian Adler. And he ended the call with a friggin' billionaire so he can focus on her. He had groceries delivered. He takes her to the kitchen where he makes food for her. Then she mentions how some things between them feels like deja vu. She expects him to laugh it off, but his mood changes. There's a twitch in his jaw. So she just joins him in making the food. She's making the salad. He's doing the main course. Now, Mal and Mama call Sloane to find out how she is. Dom asks Sloane to take the call. Now, Mal is now asking if Ash is around and the reason she's been so scarce recently. Mama looks sad. She looks sad when Mal asks, hey, is Ash the person who's been like consoling you, making you scarce? Because it's a video call, but it's turned away, not in Dom's direction. But when Dom hears the whole Ash thing, he accidentally breaks something. Sloane is feeling guilty, meanwhile, that she's in love with her husband's best friend. And she just thinks to herself, he can never find out about this. This thing between them is ending in 4 weeks, and she doesn't want to hurt those she loves. So Sloane also mentions to Dom, hey, that this thing between us is ending in 4 weeks. And don't worry, you don't have to deal with me after 4 weeks, expecting that he's going to be like, whoa, whoa, or something. But he just looks like the thing makes his bad mood worse. She excuses herself to go off to shower, taking her time. After she's done showering, Dom is waiting for her, and it leads to intimacy between the two. All worries temporarily forgotten in the face of lust. Like I said, this is a very raunchy book. Now, there's a moment there, his eyes shine with pride, tenderness, and love as he brushes his nose against hers, but she chalks it off to her projecting, like, why does it feel so affectionate? And that, like, he's saying he loves me. She's like, it's because I like him, because I love him. I'm thinking he might love me back. No, I should not project like that, okay? Now, Sloane is out on a date with Mama. They've not done this in a while, just them alone. During it, Mama asks if she's happy with this guy she's seeing. And to Sloane's surprise, there is no judgment or pain in Mama's eyes. Mama is Eric's mom, remember. Sloane admits that she's actually not been seeing Ash, but fibs, like she lies that it's a former client and they just sort of fell together. And this man knows about Eric too. He's so understanding about everything. Me wearing my ring, sleeping in Eric's old shirt from high school. He doesn't make me feel weird when random things remind me of Eric and make me sad. He just gets it. He gets me. When I'm with him, I don't feel like I have to erase a part of me that will always love Eric. And I didn't think I'd ever find that with someone. That's what Swan confides in Mama. Mama encourages her, asking her not to give up on this love over some misguided notion that she has to be sad for the rest of her life. Swan gains confidence after this that her and Dom would be able to come clean to Mal and Mama. She now texts with Dom, who shows her cheesecake he bought for her close to her period, which is when she actually craves cheesecake the most. It's adorable that she's always on his mind, and she throws herself into his arms once she gets home, but interrupted by a call that Dom picks. She goes up to wash up and wait for him, like dress up for bed. Like I said, she's a girly girl. She does all this whole like shaving thing, moisturizing thing on an almost regular basis. I'm like, whoa, I want to be this kind of woman when I grew up. So he meets her in the room with a cheesecake, and he brings along your whipped cream. She's in laundry, not Eric's shirt, and she means to confess her love to him, but it gets sidetracked. When they are done with a particularly steamy section, she traces her finger on his tattoo. He has a tattoo and is dated 8/24/09, August 28, 2009. Now the month coincides with the death of his mom, but the year is wrong. Marie Alexander, that's Dominic's mom, died in August of 2008, while this tattoo suggests the event significant enough to make him mark it on his skin happened a year later, around the time they started college, 2009. She's never felt it was her place to ask, but things are different now. So she asked him, so about this tattoo on your skin, I've been saying this since we got together and I've always been curious about it. Why did you tattoo this date on your skin? The moment she asked him that question, his mood changes. She believes that the tattoo has to do with a phantom woman that he's hung over, that he's not gotten over. And she's jealous of this woman. She can't tell him now about her love for him because, this evening she's trying to be brave after that conversation with Mama to tell him, hey, I love you. You get. But seeing that he's still hung over someone else, she's like, oh no, I can't even tell him about how I love him because he's clearly not over this other girl. So she goes to the bathroom and she's crying there. When she returns, he hurriedly kisses her and leaves, breaking his promise to always sleep next to her, because part of their rules was throughout this 4-week period, we'll sleep next to each other every day. You get. And she's like, he's even breaking his promise after he refused to tell me about what that tattoo means and this woman that he has not gotten over, and now he's leaving me. Because normal Dom would pamper her, he would be there, he would talk, but this one, he said he has urgent business to take care of. And when he leaves, she cries herself to sleep, thinking she's selfish. First, she got an IUD because she was too scared to be pregnant for, Eric again after miscarrying, and now she's asking about the tattoo on Dom's skin. Why couldn't she just have been okay with the arrangement? Why did she have to go further? She's blaming herself. Meanwhile, it is dad that Dom goes to meet, and it is not going well because Dom's father has cancer, but the man is still such an awful, terrible human being. Had his nurse lie to Dom that he's dying so that Dom can actually come and see him, because Dom has just been refusing to see his father. Dom's father is telling Dom that, son, you're just like me. Yes, you are slow to strike. It doesn't make you any less deadly. Me, yes, I was hitting your mom and everything. But you calculate your moves. So how are you any less deadly? So that thing hits the mark. Because all the times Dom thought of hurting people who touched Sloane, keeping the truth of the past from her, saying the hurt she was feeling but saying nothing, he feels like I am contributing to her hurt by all the things I have done or not failed to do. So Dad now hands Dom a bottle of vodka and grins wolfishly, as per predator that finally caught prey. Because Dom hasn't drank ever. He avoids drinking, avoids fighting, avoids anything that will make him be like his father. But now his father is now shoved the vodka, a bottle of vodka, the temptation, the devil itself, into Dom's hand. Dom stays over at his apartment that evening. He doesn't return to Sloane's house. And in the morning, he finally decides to face things head on, to clear up all the confusion and misunderstandings, to tie up all the ends, really, the places he feels like he should have done better. So he starts by testing Kristen, his former girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, to admit that we actually could have never worked. He's at his home and he now asks Kristen, can we meet up so that let's talk about this? He meets with Kristen at a cafe close to the courthouse. She's a lawyer and she's glowing. She admits to him that she's actually seeing Ash. Ash is that guy that Sloane went out on that first date with. I mean, the guy is he's a mogul, real estate mogul, very wealthy. Honestly, stories where everybody, even awful ones, find their happy endings, it doesn't make me too glad. I mean, I think I would have been really okay if Kristen just stayed sad. I mean, yes, I know she's a human being. She deserves happiness, but you know that kind of stories where they pair up even the awful ones and they all have happy endings. I mean, the last story we did too was something like this. Even the awful ones that was Muhammad throughout the story, that one too had a happy ending. I'm like, why give them happy endings when they're just awful people? I just want suffering. Anyhow, please don't mind me. Let's move forward. Kristen is not happy, really, when Dom comes clean, and she's not happy to hear her relationship with Dom wasn't real and was actually a distraction to him or for him. He was trying to distract himself from what he actually really wanted. But regardless, it's what it is. Now, Dom has meetings scheduled with Sloane and James later. During the meeting, Dom gives Sloane a forced smile. James is happy the project has come to an end. Like, they've actually finished the project. So, this means that Dom and Sloane's time together, doing what they're doing, is already winding up. But the opening party is still a month away. Now, James slips out during the meeting that Dom would be moving to California for Sebastian Adler's project, the billionaire. That's why Dom has always been on calls recently. He's been so busy because he's preparing for the next project that will actually be done in California. That means he's going to leave this place. So Dom talks calmly and says that it's not yet confirmed that I'm going to go out to California. It's not yet confirmed that I'm the one who will do that. But his eyes are wild. Like, oh my God, like this wild animal. He's scared that Sloane is going to misunderstand. And she's already misunderstanding. But Sloane has already concluded that Dom always had an exit plan as far once we are done with this skin hunger thing, that he's planning to go away, because this California project is a 2-year freaking project. You get. So she concludes that their moments meant more to her than it did to him. Now, Sloane goes drinking with experts on heartbreaks. Mal. She's mourning the breakup with Ash in quotes. That's what Mal is thinking, that, she's mourning that her and Ash are over. Sloane is mourning the fact that Dom is moving away, that the arrangement is over. She's dancing her heart out. Dom shows up there with Chris. I mean, Mal tested them to drive them back. Mal lives with Chris. Honestly, these two, Mal and Chris, one moment they're just like attacking each other, but you can always tell that something is really happening between these two, okay? While Mal lives with Chris, Dom bodily carries Sloane to the car once they're outside. All in all, I'm actually thinking Dom got the short end in this story because he suffered 12 years. His choice, yes, I know. I don't know why he couldn't have just gotten over a freaking girl. And she didn't suffer as much to me as he did. I mean, she lost her husband. I mean, there's grief, there's all those things. They both lost someone there, but she too, that guy was also his best friend. I think she would make him an excellent wife because Sloane is much of that homey, girly person, but he's too good for her regardless. I just wish that he didn't have to suffer 12 years watching her with someone, waiting for her to mourn. I mean, the guy, man, I felt bad for Dom more. This is just my commentary on the side. Now, this episode is done. Let's see how Dom is able to explain his way out of the whole mess. How he's been in love with her 12 years, how he actually left to deal with the thing with his dad, everything. Let's see how that wraps up in the next episode. We're wrapping up in the next episode. That's so good. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, Nibber. You're the best. Please share. Really share, get in touch with me somewhere, tell someone about the podcast, leave a review. Those are all of the ways you can support this podcast. I may be starting a Patreon next year, but until then, see ya.